Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, we are now back here live at the Investor Show. We've all heard about it, ladies and gentlemen. If you are catching this live, definitely feel free to come in and say hello. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you guys and girls, as you guys and girls can already have seen, the 401k. We've all heard about the 401k plan. You know, it's been, I'm 36 years old, so it's way beyond my age. I've been doing much studies about it throughout my financial career of education and things like that. We talked about 401ks and Roth IRAs and retirement plans here on the Investor Show, ladies and gentlemen. But I will have to tell you this, I want to say about 2 weeks ago, I was sitting at home. Was it a week or two ago? I was sitting at home and I was flipping through Netflix. It was it was a documentary called Money Explained. And I'm sitting there on Money Explained. And I'm watching all the episodes, and it gets to episode 5, retirements. So, retirements is always boring, most people think, but I'm weird like that. That's what I spend my all time doing. So looking at it, and then they get to the conversation of the 401k. When I see the conversation of the 401k, it intrigues me. They had the father of the 401k come in and who set the framework and the groundwork for what we know today as the 401k. So when I saw this, I said, wow, Ted Benna, this guy's a legend. Man, I would love to meet him. How do I meet him? How do I find him? And with a little research and a little reaching out, I found him. So ladies and gentlemen, he's here today. So today we're going to have the father of the 401k, Mr. Ted Benna. He's going to talk about creating the 401k, what has gone different with the 401k, and all those great things. This 401k all today, what he's going to talk about, retirement in the new system. A lot of y'all have 401k, so y'all may want to tune in. So, and also, you're going to have prizes here. So we're going to give away some prizes today for people that are tuning in live. And if you are catching the playback, you can catch the playback as well. Well, without further ado, I know you guys and girls are not tuning in today to see me. You're here for the man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. Ted Benna. So y'all give him a nice round of applause as he comes in. Ted, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, Prince. Hey, thank you for that great build-up. So I hope your folks listening aren't disappointed.
Definitely not disappointed. I'm glad, I'm honored to be here with you. Like I told you before we came on, I definitely want to get an autographed book from you. I definitely will be reaching out for you to make that happen for me. I'm just honored to have you on, and honored to hear the man, the myth, and the legend behind what we know today as the 401k. So how are you doing? And can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who is Ted Benna out there for everybody who doesn't know?
Well, thank you much, Prince. A little bit of background. I actually grew up on a dairy farm in South Central Pennsylvania, and got married at a young age. My wife and I ended up in Philadelphia. We spent 37 years in that area, and started out in the business in the home office of an insurance company, and then with a couple of other guys started a benefit consulting company that we built to about a 350 employee business. Sold in 1990, and hey, since 1990, then I've been pretty much running on my own. With various little businesses and consulting as well, writing books, doing speeches, whole combination.
Okay, nice. All right, so building that business with 350 employees and selling in 1990. So you've been having a nice, relaxed 30 years, I see. So, but this is the first question I want to get into. The first question: why and how did you create this whole idea of 401k? Now, of course, they say if the running theory is that one day you was reading tax documents and you got down to the 401k section, you got to the 401 section, paragraph K, I think it was, and a bulb went off and said, oh, 401k, I got it. Is that how it happened, Ted?
That's not reality, Prince. That's it's been in print, but that's definitely not exactly how it happened. The legislation that added that paragraph to Section 401 was passed in 1978. I wasn't involved with the legislation, but I knew it. The reason it got enacted was totally different from what we know today. But what was involved is that particular paragraph became effective in January of 1980. And, no one was running around setting up 401k plans. In the fall of 1980, I was working with a Philadelphia area bank to help them redesign their retirement program. And as I was in that process, I was drawn back to this section of the code, which, I knew was there. And as I was working through the process of how I was going to redesign their plan, to accomplish what they wanted accomplished, I came up with the idea of adding to that particular section employer matching contributions, and also the idea of employees being able to take part of their paycheck each pay period and contribute it pre-tax, into this type of plan. And Prince, there wasn't anything actually in, that section of the code when it was enacted saying that you could do either one of those two things, but there also wasn't anything saying, you couldn't do it. So, I chose to kind of pursue the more aggressive interpretation. And, fortunately, ultimately, Treasury supported that.
Okay. So you saying it was passed in 1978. And you saying when this was kind of like a hidden document in 1978 when they passed the legislation. But you found this and, while doing your work, and you said, hey, you know what? This is something that we can set up. This is something that we can set up with, when you was working with the bank as a benefit plan of, hey, you can match and this person can match. Am I getting that correctly?
Yeah, that's the general idea. Yep.
Okay. Now, when you created this 401k plan, looking back on it to see, did you visualize that, oh, this is going to be a massive thing, the $6.7 trillion industry? Did you visualize that, or was it just something that just caught you off guard?
I knew it was going to be big, Prince. I obviously, didn't project out into the trillions of dollars, but, the reason I knew that it was going to be big was at this particular time, most of the Fortune 500 companies had in place for their employees what were known as thrift or savings plans. Those were plans where employees could put their money in after tax and get a matching contribution. And I know once I began to get the word out that, hey, look, this is a way that those employees could start putting their money in pre-tax rather than after tax, that, CEOs and CFOs of, the big companies were going to certainly have an interest in this. And that's exactly what happened.
Okay. Now looking at, what happened and, 40 years ago, now to way before I was even born, right? You were doing all of this. So before I was even, a twinkle in my dad's eye, right? I got to ask you this question, looking back on it, seeing what it morphed into, because I saw something, I don't know if this is true or not, Ted, that you tried to trademark it or protect it. Is that true?
Yeah, that is correct. We asked a Philadelphia lawyer if we could do that, and we're told we couldn't. And I learned two things from that experience. One is we weren't talking to a copyright or patent attorney, which was a mistake. But the other thing I learned is that, hey, when you ask an attorney a question you get a no, you should probably look for another attorney. But kind of a little interesting side story off that. I was doing an NPR interview years ago. I was asked that question, and kind of off the top of my head, I just said, hey, look, it would be all right if each participant sent me a quarter. And there were about 30 million participants at the time, Prince. And so that would have been okay. And about a week later, I went and got my mail out of the mailbox, and here were two envelopes with quarters in them and one with a 25-cent check. So those people actually tracked down my address and sent me the 25 cents.
Nice. That's okay. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Now I got to ask you this, Cord. You got a pretty good sense of humor too, so I like that, Ted. Now I got to ask you this question. Looking back on it now, knowing what you've seen now, is there anything? How would you have done it differently? Is there anything you would have done differently besides talk to a different lawyer?
Well, no. It's worked out well. Probably it's a blessing that I didn't get the copyright patent. Probably gotten too much money and done goofy things, if that happens. So, I'm not really disappointed that happened. The most rewarding thing about the 401k from my personal experience, Prince, is it's been a great way for middle income workers to save for retirement. That's who it really benefits. Those earning between $30,000 and $150,000 or so. And the biggest value of a 401k I've learned over the years is it helps turn spenders into savers by making that the first priority, because it comes out of your paycheck before you get your grubby little hands on it and you're tempted to spend it on something else. So help me do that and help millions of other workers accomplish that.
And I like that how you said it turned spenders into savers, the average American. So definitely congratulations on that. Congratulations. Now the next question I want to get into, what is the difference? What makes a 401k good or bad? I have a 401k. He or she has a 401k, or I'm a small business owner. What makes a 401k good or bad?
Well, what makes it good is it's a great way, of course, for you to help save for the future, for your retirement. The government gives you a tax break to help you do that. And I'm a firm believer in pre-tax saving rather than after tax. And the reason for that is that life has tons of uncertainties. It can be death in the family, or divorce, loss of a job, etc. A lot of things. And when you're saving pre-tax, you're able to build your nest egg faster than you would if you're doing it after tax, and be in a better position, when life uncertainties, hit you. The thing that bothers me about 401k, the most, actually two things. One are fees. Many participants are paying too high fees. But the other thing, Prince, for small businesses is many of them are being sold 401k plans, and there are better alternatives. I focused quite a bit on that over the last 3 years, and so my push to small businesses is hey, make sure you check out the IRA based alternatives before you get into a 401k plan. And I actually, for $100 fee, will help a small employer work through the different alternatives, and help them decide what might be the best type of program for them.
Okay. Now, I didn't want to cut you off there, but the fees, what are good fees and what are bad fees?
Well, the best fee arrangement, if you're a participant in 401k, is that the only fee you're paying is the investment fee charged by the investment company where the money's being invested, whether it's Fidelity or Vanguard or wherever. The problem is what has happened over the years, and I've detailed in this, this in the last book that I published, which was 401k 40 years later, covered the history of fees in there. And what has happened, particularly for smaller employers, there have been layers and layers of fees, that are imposed. And, I run into examples where participants are paying, in a 401k and small plans, as much as 2.75% a year, and that's just outrageous. When they could be investing for as little as 0.25% or 0.5% rather than 2.75%.
Okay. Now, for ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to drop a gem. He just mentioned his latest book, 401k 40 Years Later, where he talks about the fees of the 401k that he created, that he saw that was astronomical. So what we're going to do right here on the Investor Show, ladies and gentlemen, if you are catching this live, if you comment below, if the first two people to comment below, Ted Benna, that's Ted, T-E-D, Benna, B-E-N-N-A. Well, if you comment out the first two people that comments our guest name, you're going to get a free copy sent to you, 401k 40 Years Later by Mr. Ted Benna. So comment below. If you are catching this live, comment below Ted Benna, the first two people, you're going to get a copy of 401k 40 Years Later. And if you are catching the playback and you're the first ones to drop the comment, send me an email to the address that is shown, Prince, Prince, at children'sfinancialliteracy.org. So again, the first two people to drop Ted Benna will receive a free copy, courtesy of the Investor Show, 401k 40 years later, or send me an email to Prince at children'sfinancialliteracy.org. That's congratulations. Oh, okay. Congratulations, Casey Peterson. Peterson, congratulations to you. All right. Casey Peterson, you have won a free copy. And I don't know what your name is. Hey, Sharks, you said Ted Benna. You're going to get a free copy as well. So Casey Patterson, Casey Patterson. And also, hey, Shark, please email me with my email address that I was shown. I'm going to show it again. Where's my email address? Of course, it's the one to show it when I need it. Right here. Send me an email to Casey Patterson and Hey Sharks to Prince, Prince, at childrenfinancialliteracy.org. Please send your name and an address because I need to know a place to send it. Please send your name and address, and I'm going to send you a free copy of 401k. You know what, Mr. Ted Benna, can we get him signed?
I would be glad to do that, Prince.
You're going to get an autographed copy. You're going to get an autographed copy. So the two people that won, congratulations for tuning in. You're going to get an autographed copy. Please send me your name and your address to Prince at children'sfinancialliteracy.org. That is shown with your name and your address, and you're going to get an autographed copy of 401k 40 years later. Now I see there are some other people that have commented. Where were they at? I see some other people that commented. Where are you at? There you go. So Casey, congratulations. Hey Sharks, congratulations. I am sorry, Interlock, the Cornmatic. You were not one of the first two. And my guy Max B, he said, thank you for the gems, Mr. Benna. Okay. All right. So those two people, we had to take a quick break there. And congratulations to y'all. You're going to get autographed copies by the legend himself. And I'm definitely going to grab me a copy as well. So let's keep it going right along, right? Now, you spoke about the problem being with fees that you saw with the 401k plan. Now, I got to ask you this question. You spoke about fees and management and things like that. I got to ask you, what do you think of the RIA industry, the retirement investment advisor industry that are housing, professional advisors that are registered either with the state or the SEC that are managing pension funds? How do you feel about that industry, past, present, future? Or if you have any thoughts?
Well, I definitely have thoughts, Prince, and what bothers me where connects to 401k and IRAs. Is generally the traditional brokers that work for the major wirehouse companies. Are putting individuals into what are called managed accounts, which typically result in fees and 1.5% to 2.5% a year, and end up putting the investors into canned mutual fund mix of mutual funds that those same investors could get for as little as 0.15% or so. That's a big difference, and that's kind of definitely troubling because that difference in fees means quite a few years of more of retirement income that can be provided if you reduce the fees. Hey, one sure way of improving your investment return, Prince, is to reduce the fees you're paying. Know what you're getting for those fees. They may be worth it. If you have an advisor, I mean, I recommend some people to advisor firm locally here that I have enough confidence to do that because they provide customized services to their clientele that I would say generally worth the cost of having them on board. But too many of the advisors that isn't the case.
Okay, got it. So be careful of if you have an advisor, be careful of fees. And also if you have a managed advisor, be careful of fees, and also look at what they invested in, not just put me into the S&P 500 and say, hey, let me take 2.7%.
Yeah.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Can I just give you a little story recently here? I mentioned small business, but let me give you an example if we can take time to do that. Is that okay?
That's definitely, Ted. This is your
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. I bumped into a web designer and a few months ago, and was talking to her about doing work for me, and she'd successfully built a web design business and netting about 65,000 a year. When I asked her what she was doing for retirement, she was putting $16,000 a year into a solo K plan and $6,000 a year into a Roth IRA. And I congratulated her, said, "Oh man, I mean, it's fantastic. You're doing a great job of managing your finances." So then I thought, well, let me dig a little deeper. And I started to peel off the layers of how she was doing this. And I found out that she could accomplish about $2,500 in additional tax savings that she wasn't, because of the way that her business and the plans were set up. And I provided the information to her. She sent it off to her investment advisor that she's paying 1.75% a year to. He came back and told her I was all wrong. So then she went to her accountant. He came back initially with the same response, but then eventually he came around and agreed that what I was talking about was correct. And so now she's getting set up, things set up to accomplish that additional tax. And so that's indicative of what I run into with a lot of small businesses, Prince, that they're really not getting good advice.
Okay.
And this is pretty complicated stuff, so I don't want to dump all over them. They may know investments, but man, all these different options with these different types of 401k and IRA based retirement plans, they get quite involved. I'm in a process right now of updating the 401k for Dummies book, and that's going to be out in the fall, and the new version is going to be 401k and IRAs for Dummies, and it's not easy. It's complex stuff. It's taking a heck of a lot of time, to work through and do the updating of that book.
Okay. Now you spoke about, you kind of hit on this earlier. Small businesses alternatives to 401ks. You kind of touched about it. You kind of help you advise small businesses ways to. What are some other alternatives to the 401k?
Well, I found two ways of being able to do a payroll deduction IRA, and I don't know anybody, frankly, it's come up with that possibility. Princess was kind of another example where I was kind of putting my brain to work here to say, well, how can we do something better for small employers? And then, there are two other alternatives. There's a SEP IRA and there's a simple IRA. They've been around for a while. And it's not hard to get general information about those programs. You can get that online from most of the major financial institutions. But what they don't really dig deeply into it is how to do it and why you might do one versus the other. That part, I don't really know anybody out there that's providing that kind of support. And the major reason for this, Prince, is these little businesses with 10, 15, 20 employees, and owners are earning $75,000 to $100,000 a year or so. They're not just that attractive of a prospect for the the major financial organizations or the financial advisors.
Okay, so small business do have alternatives. Now, Ted, a lot has changed since the 80s. I'm guessing. I read some books, saw some videos. A lot of things have changed since the 80s. One is being accessibility to the market. A lot of people have access. People have phones now. Another one is being affordability. Now people, fees are practically gone away for retail brokers. Anybody can pick up a phone and start a Robinhood or, all the big broker houses, TD Ameritrade, Interactive Brokers, all those guys have pretty much gotten away with fees. We live in a world of where we have a lot of information. People can now, they don't have to watch a TV show. Now they're getting things like this directly streamed to their phone, where they're getting ready to hear. They can hear from Ted Benna across the globe right now. So people now have more access. People have more influence now to investing. And some people feel like the 401k is obsolete now. They're like, hey, you know what? Look at cryptocurrency. I made 200% last night. Look at, I can option trade. And you got a plethora of information with, hey, just trade options and I'll show you how to become a millionaire overnight. Oh, buy this, you'll be a millionaire overnight. Buy that, be a millionaire overnight. Your 401k is crashed. You can't touch it until you're 59 and a half. You got to put money into it. Then you're going to get a bunch of index funds. It doesn't work. What do you have to say? Or what do you think maybe went wrong with the 401k?
Okay, well, first of all, let me just mention the fact that with a 401k or an IRA, you have the opportunity to invest in anything that you can invest in, like the other stuff that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. It doesn't need to be limited to mutual funds, okay? So, that for sure doesn't make it obsolete by any stretch of the imagination. The other issue, of course, I'm a skeptic when it comes to the hot get rich quick stuff. Okay. Hey, it works for some people, if you hit it right, it works. But, there's a recent Netflix series, is on. You ought to look at that one, if you're tempted to jump into that kind of stuff. And, they did a good job of going through, the Ponzi type of schemes, including one of the cryptocurrencies. So, you got to be cautious. Greed and fear are, two real problems when it comes to investing. They can really do a lot of damage.
Okay. Now, we spoke about the small business alternatives. I got to ask you this question. Does Ted Benna have a 401k? And if you do have a 401k, do you like the way?
Oh, did you Prince? Are
you? Yeah, I was saying
I'm 79 years old.
I mean,
so I'm not contributing to a 401k.
Oh, I mean, I know that.
Did I lose?
Yeah. I mean, not age wise. I know, you're past you're 79. You're past your 401k days. They would have made you, require distribution. But did you have one?
Well, definitely. I mean, the first 401k plan, savings plan in the country, was our plan that we set up at the consulting firm I was at, back in 1980. And, I'd been putting money into that pre-tax for years, and it was tough to do because we had 4 children, had a significant enough mortgage, and I wouldn't have been able to do that on my own, if it didn't come off the top first. And hey, for years, I certainly contributed that plan. And then, later on, after we sold that, I set up a plan for a company I had after that. And definitely for a lot of years, put money into a 401k plan. Certainly thankful I did that. And I've never run into anybody, by the way, who's told me, I wish I hadn't put my money that I put into a 401k plan. I was visiting a brother this week who's been, given probably only a month or 2 to live. And fortunately, one of his daughters is there right now, able to take care of him. And she retired in her early 60s and just said, I wouldn't have been able to do that without my 401k.
Okay. Now, that's a great idea. I want to make sure, what do you thought about the 401k? Now I got to ask the question, what is Ted Benna investing in? Do you have any cryptocurrencies, Mr. Benna?
No, I don't.
You don't have any crypto? Okay.
I don't have any.
I know let's say if you were to rewind the clock back to 30 years old, which wasn't too long ago, and you was in your 30s, what would Ted Benna be investing in?
Well, I invested in mutual funds, that were available in the 401k. And, I didn't know that much about investing. I mean, my professional expertise was in consulting and, and benefits. And so, I wasn't a whole lot different from, other investors. I was learning. And, so I, fortunately invested in, good mutual funds that, produce good results for me over the long term. And, I wouldn't have changed that. Now, I also have some significant real estate property. So,
Hmm.
I don't buy into the idea of limiting yourself to stocks and bonds and mutual funds and so forth. I think broader diversifying certainly makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So now let's fast forward to if you were 30-year-old, if you, the 30-year-old you looking back and you used to tap Ted on the shoulder, you would say, hey, just invest into the 401k, grab you some real estate, and you'll be fine. You wouldn't do anything different.
No, I probably wouldn't. The other thing I had, that I thought about after I made those comments is, I had a substantial amount of life insurance, and
Hmm.
that's still there. It's actually in an irrevocable trust for my wife and children. I mean, that was the original purpose, and I'm not going to benefit from it, but definitely, my wife and and heirs will.
Okay, great. All right. So now I got to ask you for the average listener that's listening right now, and you spoke about that, that documentary, and that's a documentary I saw you on Netflix right now called Money Explained. You were in the retirement section. What advice, you right now you have kids right now, or teenagers, or people like myself, 30 years old, things like that. What advice would you give? I want advice for professional investors, professional people that are in the industry, and for the actual regular person who's trying to navigate through all of this big world of, every day I'm getting a new investment. Hey, buy oil, buy this hot stock, buy this. How would you tell them to navigate? What would be your advice?
Well, the first thing I go back to is the fact that I've learned over the years that there are spenders and savers. You're generally one or the other.
Mm.
And the problem with spenders is they can't save because they don't have enough. Problem is they never get out of that mode. Typically, as they have more, they simply spend more. And I have examples of that I could give in my own family. The savers who may even actually have significantly less than spenders, find out how to save and to build some significant assets. So that's one thing. You're never too early to start saving and learning how to do that. That's definitely important. And I'm not sure. I had another thought or two in mind. Well, even if it's only 1% of your income, when people say, "Well, I don't have anything right now." Hey, if you only start with 1% of your income you're saving, I just did the math on it yesterday. Actually, $1,000 a year, $20 a week, not a whole lot. $1,000 a year vested for 40 years at 9% is, I don't know, close to $500,000. After 40 years. That's significant. And so key I would suggest is, hey, look at the spending decisions, things that you're buying, keep track of them, things that you're buying that you certainly could live without. And the issue is, hey, maybe give up something now to have a better life later on. That's a big issue.
Okay. That's very great, by the way. Great analogy and great advice. Now, also in that documentary, he talked about pension plans. I think it was called a Townsend plan. They had kind of like formed into Social Security, where the Townsend plan was saying, "Hey, this is what we want to go into Social Security." Now, how would you look at the 401k versus a traditional pension plan? Because it seems to me pension plans are like dying.
Well, they are dying, Prince. I started in that side of the business. I sold pension plans. And what happened is there was legislation passed, in 1974 called ERISA. And once that legislation was passed, it became impossible to sell pension plans. I had the opportunity in the 25th anniversary of ERISA to go to a big event in Washington, sponsored by Department of Labor and some other organizations that was celebrated 25th anniversary. And 3 other people were on a panel with me. 2 of us were given the assignment of defending defined contribution plans against defined benefit plans. And, my opening comments, I said, look, I don't play this game. Both of those type of programs have their pluses and negatives. It's not the one's perfect and the other one isn't. But I then said, when historians trace back the death of pension plans, one of the major reasons is going to be this legislation that we're here celebrating today. And Prince, I don't know if they had a 30th anniversary or not, but celebration, if they did, I didn't get invited back anyhow.
Oh, that's are you still there, Ted? Oh, there you go. I'll make sure. Okay. All right. So I didn't get invited back. Okay.
Well, and a couple other things, if I could, a couple of other things to talk about in pensions. The insurance company I worked for back in 1960 had a pension plan. You didn't get any benefits if you left there before you were age 60. Nothing.
Oh.
Zero. Okay. And that was true at most companies. The other thing is that when businesses went under in that era, a lot of workers and retirees lost, significant part or maybe all of their pension benefits. So the legislation that was passed in 1974 helped that short term by putting in place something called the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation. So when that was enacted, businesses that went under, there was a backstop there to help provide benefits, to employees that were otherwise been lost. But the problem was that legislation added a provision that when a company failed, that entity, Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation, could take part of the corporate assets, to help, recover some of the money they were going to front. And as a result of that, accountants told businesses, look, if you don't have a pension plan, don't go into one. And then there's something else historically that's important here, and it applies to Social Security. It applies to state governmental plans, military pensions. You're a Navy guy, and I give you a lot of credit for that. Private pensions, all of them, unfortunately, have legally operated from the beginning by being able to promise benefits that haven't been properly funded. So participants in these programs who think, they're in a much more secure position than they are in a 401k really aren't. They have as much investment risk. Don't know it. That's a reality.
Wow. That's a very good. So people are promising things that they don't even have themselves.
Well, the employers are. I'll give you an example.
Employers.
I helped an individual who was retiring not long ago from one of the local oil gas companies in this area. And he's an average guy and helping, and his wife's a teacher in the school system, and they're retiring in their early 50s. And so he is covered under what's called a cash balance plan. That's a type of pension plan, that major companies still have. When I got his what's called summary plan description, the thing that tells you about these type of plans, and I read it, it has a paragraph there that says, you have an account, you get a statement each year that shows credits that are being made to your account, but it's not a real account. Okay, it's not a real account. We don't actually have to put the money into this account. And the money may or may not be there.
Wow. Yeah, I was reading about that in school about accounts like that, those top hats. They call them like the top hat account. Like, hey, we're going to benefit you. We're going to credit a different account in the future for the future you that's not really there.
Well, these are the cash balance plan. Employees who work for big business that still have them, that's generally the type of plan that they have. If they'll find that paragraph, if they take out their summary. Hey, Prince, same thing happens with Social Security, all right?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You can get a Social Security statement, right? That gives you the impression that, hey, these are monies going into a real account. Well, they aren't, right? All it is a piece of paper. It's being printed that shows the taxes you've paid in. And I'm sure you know, as I know, that all the taxes being paid, 2021 into Social Security is being used to pay out benefits to people who are already retired. They're not going into an account being vested for the workers.
Wow. That is, yeah, I have read about that. So, like Social Security, we're pretty much just paying for the people that are on it now, if that. So that's pretty crazy. But Ted, I know I can go on with you for hours and hours. I want to go over some of the live comments some people put in here. FICA, the things that we see. Ted Benna, thank you for the gems, Ted Benna. People just comment your name left and right there. Nicole says hello from California. Hey, Sharks is from Chicago. So we got California, Chicago, Hawaii. And Alan says, good afternoon. There's so many live comments. And Freddie Butler says, I'm still reading financial statements and my knee is doing great. Thanks, Freddie B, for checking in. He's out there in Lancaster, Illinois. So we have the East Coast, West Coast, some people overseas that are catching this live, and some that will catch the playback as well. And congratulations to the people that are going to be taking home today the 401k 40 years later, autographed copy by the legend himself, Mr. Ted Benna. We would definitely make that happen. So, anything you want to say before you get out of here, Ted?
Yeah, actually, Prince, I've tried to be humble about this over the years. When people say, kind of want to pat me on the back and all this stuff. And one of the reasons for that, I've always believed the fact that this is, I was smart enough to come up with on my own, that I, definitely was given some divine help. My faith is major part of my life, and I'm fortunate to have had that kind of help, and had the experiences I had to be in a place to put the pieces together for this.
He's giving it, he's giving the praise to his divine help that helped him create the 401k that's turned a lot of spinners into savers. So Ted, I want to say thank you for coming on. I got to ask you this question. Will you come back on?
I'd be glad to. Sure.
Glad to come. We definitely got to have you come back on when you do your Roth IRA 401k for dummies. But I definitely will be getting to you to get those autographed copies. I definitely want to say thank you for coming on. Anybody out there, check him out. He's on episode 5, Retirement, on Money Explained. Very good documentary. I'm weird like that. That's what I do on my all time. So, definitely thank you for being on. Definitely enjoyed having you. We would definitely be in contact.
All right. Thank you, Prince.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and children of all ages, until the next video, podcast, cartoon, or whatever else you see me do crazy around the globe. My name is Prince Dykes. This is The Investor Show. Peace, be safe. I'm out, and thank you.